Hi guys, I'm James, welcome back to Winter Quartering. Today I wanna show you a little pretty game called Breizh 1341. So, Breizh 1341. It is a game published by Shakos, a French company, that is also the publisher of the Napoleon series. Napoleon 806, Napoleon 807, and also the more recent Napoleon 1815, the Waterloo campaign. This is a game that comes in this nice, pretty, little and tiny box. Very nice, I like it. And this is a two-player game that you can play in 45 minutes. Yes, pretty accurate, I think. It's a fast game, but it is also a clever game. I think this is a little gem, spoiler. It's very, very good, I enjoyed it a lot. It's a card-driven game that has, in my opinion, a very clever card-driven system, which is the heart of the game. And it is basically an area control game. What is the theme? It is the war of the two Jeans, and the period is the more or less the initial phase of the 100-year wars. We are in northern France, more specifically in Britain. I was playing my Plantagenet from Jeanne campaign, the Levy campaign system, but eventually I had a little break to play in this game because I was eager to have it on my table and also to stick with the team, because 100 years war is strictly correlated to the War of the Roses. But I'm gonna read from the rulebook that I think it explains way better than I would. On April 30, 1341, Duke Jean III of Brittany died childless. In under an hour you will become the next Duke of Brittany. His niece, Jeanne de Penthièvre, sorry if I butcher some French names, but I don't speak French, unfortunately. Jeanne de Penthièvre, the wife of Charles de Blois and Jean de Montfort. Charles de Blois was the son of the King of France, but this Jean de Montfort was the husband of Jeanne de Flanders, an half-brother of Jean III, claimed the ducal crown. So there's a dynastic struggle, a claim for the control of the territory. At first the pretenders seek a legal solution, but politics prevails. The nobles of France came out in support of Jeanne de Penthièvre, whose husband Charles de Blois is the nephew of the King of France. The nephew, sorry, not the son. The king is Philip VI that was elected over the claim of King Edward III of England. This is one of the causes for the 100 Years' War. For their part, Jean de Montfort and Jeanne de Flanders, his wife, are seeking support from King Edward III of England, obviously because the other side was with the King of France, who seeks support in England. The Briton War of Succession subsequently breaks out and becomes an integral part of the 100 Years' War. This struggle for the Duchy of Brittany will last for more than 20 years, and so on. So this is basically the theme. So it's a two-player game, it's a card-driven game, it's an area control game. Let's talk a little bit about the rules and see how it works. The game lasts for a maximum of 6 turns, unless one faction manages to score a win before the 6th turn. You can win immediately by having control of 7 territories. When a territory is dominated, you have domination in a territory, you mark with the French or the English, Anglo-Briton English marker. To have a domination, basically, you need to control a castle. When you control a castle like this, you put your marker on for the French, and you need to have also a partisan. So a partisan and a castle, you dominate the territory, but you also need to have more of these things than your opponent. For example, if the English player here have one castle and one partisan, this is the basic requirement to have domination in a territory. But the French player also has 2 partisans, so 1, 2, 1, 2, you are 2 versus 2, so you don't have the domination. Obviously, also if the French player has 3 partisans versus 1 castle and 1 English partisan, they don't have domination because they also need eventually to have a castle to claim it. So the instant victory condition at the end of one of the turns, if you dominate 7 of the regions, you automatically win. Otherwise, we check the victory condition at the end of the 6th and final turn. To win, you basically need to have more markers and partisans than your opponent on the board. The markers are those of castle, those of for control, and partisan. You simply sum all of that, and then eventually we win. We have our turn marker here. At the beginning of each turn, we will draw cards. Let's have a look at the cards. First of all, we need to look at the upper left. The cards can have only 1 symbol, or a 2 symbol, or a 3 symbols. This simply indicates which turns do you use it. On the first turn, the draw deck will only be composed of cards with 1 symbol. From the second turn till the end, we will also introduce cards with 2 symbols. On the final turn, we introduce the card with the 3 symbols. I would like to remark that all the cards, and there's many, they are all different and unique with beautiful art and also the historical description of each event. The subdivision between events is also for historical accuracy. This is a fantastic thing to have in a game. I highly appreciate it. I think the game is awesome under this aspect, and it can be a great teaching tool. Back to the rules. The cards portray an historical description, but things that matters are they also have an event and possible action you can do with the cards. You play the cards for the event or for the action. The action are for action, and all the cards have those actions. There's another thing. There's a card with blue background, favorable to the French, and with the red, favorable for the English player. In the first round, we will draw 7 cards each. Our deck of 1 cards. I draw for the English, and we also have these other 2 decks of cards that are the characters cards. For example, this is a French character, Jeanne de Penthièvre, an English one, Jean de Montfort. They have a little of history on them, and then they depict some bonuses eventually that you can get in a game. At the start of each round, the English player, as the French player, will also draw one of these cards. So in the round 1 we will have 7 cards from the event deck, which is this one, plus 1 character card. Okay, first turn of the game, the first player is the English player. We will keep alternating playing a card and basically doing the event or one of the action. But as you can see, I also have French cards in my hand. If I want to play or I must play one of these cards, the event will trigger first for my opponent. It's like Twilight Struggle. So I play this one, the French player will execute the event. In this case is recruit 6 plus 1 die roll troops. Troops are the cubes. And then after the event I will choose one of the action, the basic action. The basic action simply are recruit troops or get partisans or remove troops from the board or siege castles. If I play one of my cards, I have to choose either or the event or the operations. While I play the card, I may also add one of my character cards in my hand just to give a bonus, a little boost. For example, if I use this card to recruit troops, Jeanne de Montfort, one of the bonus is +2 for recruit. So I play this with this one, I add 2 more troops. And this is basically how the character cards work. But we have also a limit of cards that we can play in one round, which is a maximum of 5 for the first round. Then we have 3 till the 5th round and 5 again in the final round of the game. When I play a card, put here we have the numbers just to quickly and easily see how many are we playing. The character card obviously doesn't count among the limit, they simply get discarded. And you can play max 1 card for every card you play. Let's take a look at the basic action you can do, which are the 4 down here. Recruit, that you can recruit 1 troop that you can eventually boost with character cards. Recruit is place 1 troop wherever you want on the board. But if it's the 5th troop on a region, then a battle will immediately trigger. For example, if I put my troops here in bounce, we have 5 cubes, so battle will immediately trigger. How does the battle works? You basically count your strength point, which is the number of your cubes, so 2 for the English, 3 for the French. The English have always a +1 for the longbow, so they have 3 versus 3. You can add a character card before first the active player, then the passive player. So first, in this case, first the French can play a card that character card maybe can say the +1 in battle, something like that. But in this case, you sum your forces and you roll a die. You add a die roll for each side. So the English have a 1, 2, 3, 4 for the longbowman, and the French 1, 2, 3, 4. Then if the difference between the 2 results is 2 or less, you have 1 loss per side. If the difference is 3 or more, the losing side loses half of his troop, rounded up. Then the winning side loses half of the losses of the losing side, rounded up. So for example, if half the English is 1, they lose 1, the French needed to lose 1 divided by 2, rounded up, which is still 1, so we also have 1. If at the end of the round there's still 5 cubes in the same area, you get another round of battle. The battle lasts till one side is totally eliminated, or till there are less than 5 cubes on the battlefield. If in the final round of the battle you have at least 3 troops more than the losing side, you win the battle, or you win the battle if your opponent is totally eliminated. You are the sole survivor on the region. If you manage to get a win, you will also put one of your partisans there. It's more complicated to explain it than to play it. If none of those things will happen, the battle stops and we don't have any winner, just attrition for both sides. I would like to specify that the minimum loss for each side is always 1. The other action is rally. Rally makes you put a partisan on one of the regions on the board. There's no limitation for control enemy troops. You can put it everywhere, like the troops. Then we have the fight action, that basically you roll a die and you remove a number of enemy troops as the number you rolled. In this case 3, I can remove 3 troops, no more than 2 per region, so 1, 2 and this one. Then the last action is Assager, which is the siege action. You can see all this beautiful castle around the map. You have 3 different values, value 1, value 2 or value 3, like Nantes, and Brest or Reims. If you want to put under siege a castle with a 1 number, you will need at least 1 troop or a maximum of 2 troops. For the 2 castle value, you will need 2 troops or 3 troops. Never more, never less. And for the castle of value 3, you will need 3 or 4 troops. How does it work? You will need to basically roll a die. Again, you can add the bonus of a character card if you have it, the right one, to improve your chances. You roll a die, you will add the strength, the number of your troops, and eventually bonuses with the cards, and the total result must be the value of the castle plus 2 or more. In this case, value of the castle 1 plus 2 is 3. I have 1 troop here. I need to roll at least 2. You understand also, if you siege with 2 troops, value 1 castle, the die roll is not needed because it's automatic. 1 is the minimum result. When you manage to win the siege, you put your marker, okay? If it's a value 1, nothing happens. If it's the value 2, you can either add a partisan in the region or remove an enemy partisan there. If you manage to siege a 3 value castle, you can remove an enemy partisan and put 1 of yours there. When you conduct a siege action, you can conduct any number of sieges all around the map. 1 siege here, 1 here, 1 here. You decide how to distribute your troops. For example, I can say with this one I try to siege here, this one stays there, these 3, okay, all here I can do whatever I want with 1 siege action. But important, all the troops that have participated to a siege, successful or not successful, are removed from the board. So for example, this one has not participated, stays there, and the others goes away. You understand that in round 1 we have to play 5 cards, but we have 7 in hand, so 2 cards will remain in our hand, along eventually with character cards that we decided not to play in this turn. So in the end of the round, the card that we have in hand we haven't played, we go back to our draw deck event. The character card, we will keep it. If we don't play the character card, we can keep it till the end, till the final turn of the game, no problem. All the other cards get discarded. Okay, end of the round, we have also this nice mercenaries token to eventually put on the board. We have these 3 markers. If there's a side that has more troops on the board than the other, the side with least troop will put a mercenary marker on 1 of the region. What does the mercenary marker do? They prevent the opponent from having the control, from dominating the region. If they have the dominance here because they have a partisan and a castle, if there is the mercenary, they neglect, they cancel the control. They are very powerful. And you can remove it only if a battle action happens in the region. No other way unless the Great Plague card or other things. Then all the troops on the board, will go away eventually after checking for mercenaries. Then you have to check for domination. The region, and eventually if someone wins earlier, manage to get to snap an instant victory. Otherwise you put the domination marker here and the French player dominates. You put 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here for the English, 1 here for the French, and then we go to the next round. What happens in round 2? We will reshuffle our 2 cards with the eventually 3-4 cards remains in the hands of the 2 players. We will shuffle it together. We will compose a new deck. Then from the 2nd to the 5th round, the hands of the player changes. Why? The default number of cards that the player draws are always 1 event from our event deck. Then 1 character card. Then we have to introduce these special events are introduced. There are 8 cards. And these are gray background cards. When you play it, you have to resolve the event for both players. Both players resolve the event. Generally, the active player goes first, and then you have to do one of the actions. So, basic event, character card, and a special event. Plus, we will draw from the general event pile 1 card more for each region we dominate. In this case, the French player gets 3 more cards. That's the key factor for dominating regions, having more choices in your hand to play with. Why this is so important? Because we have various color of cards, so we are more likely to draw favorable events. There's also these white cards that don't have anything, you can do only for the action. But there's also now this half and a half, which is favorable to both factions. When you play, you decide for which faction you can play the event, or you can only do the action. So you have all these types of cards, which is very cool. All these draw piles. You see, from the 2nd to the 5th round, the maximum cards you can play is only 3, which is very short rounds. And one of these cards must be the special event card you have drawn. So these are events that need to happen, like the Great Plague or La Famine Sistale, the trade, the one smith, and that is very cool, and that's very important event. You can play it for your last card or for your first, you decide, but no matter what, but you have to play between these 3 cards. You keep also having your character cards that maybe in previous turn you haven't played, so you are saving bonuses. What happens in the 6th round? You need to introduce your 3 symbol card. You shuffle all the remaining event cards and you place the 3 pile on top of the remaining event deck. Then you distribute all the cards half per player. If there's an odd number, the player that currently is dominating the most number of regions receives more. And in the final 6th round, you keep playing till the 5th card. You have to play 5 cards, like in the first. At the end, you check for someone to win the game by summing up all the markers of his color and the number of partisans. Well, whoever has the most wins. It's basically the game. And I think it's a very clever game. It's a fast game. It's a brilliant, history accurate game. Very detailed. It's a great product. And also you have this little box. It also has a plastic insert inside, which is cool. You have a basic setup in the game that is historical, but you can also have these cards that provide a different setup for a random setup for every game. So it's very cool. Also the components are great because the counters are thick. The cards are a piece of beauty. The art, the historical detail, also a nice quality. The back, I think it is awesome. It's like $30 at the game. I think at this price it's awesome. You can have a nice little great games at a low price. You know, it's not necessary to spend hundreds of bucks and have a big monster to have fun. You can learn a lot and have a lot of fun with these pretty little games. Also, we obviously like the monster, all the types of games, but this is a nice one that will stick in my collection and we continue to play it, and I can bring it almost everywhere. It was an underdog and it was a great surprise, but only one complaint about it can be very important, because the game was published only in French language. I wish they had published in English language too, or in other languages. I don't understand why a game like this it's not published in other languages. This is I think the game would have sold a considerable number of copies also in other languages. I think the theme is cool, the price tag is cool, the game is great, the components are great, it's very appealing, the art and the cards. I don't understand why they hadn't translated the game in other language. But BGG, Board Game Geek, is luckily a thing. You can find a translation. Thank you, Unknown Hero, that translated the rulebook, which is pretty simple and short, by the way, but if you don't know French like me, it's a problem. I bought the game anyway because I liked it, but having the possibility to print my rulebook in English is great. And you also have a translation of the cards. The cards, guys, most of the cards you play for the 4 action and the event are super short, and you can deduct what there are. Recruiter here, and you know there's true. But you also have the cards have a number to distinguish them, and you have the list of cards. And thank you, Unknown Hero. You can find the files on BGG. I hope Shakos watches this video and hear me. Shakos, please print this game in English language, in Italian language maybe also too, but English is super fine. This was Breizh 1341 from Shakos. I was James, this was Winter Quartering. I hope you enjoyed the video. If yes, please put a thumb up. See you soon for other games. Now I will continue my Plantagenet campaign, but first another game with Breizh.